Binns Melander, and I am a pianist-composer who has had 5 concerts which have been put on YouTube in the past 2 years. I think people might like to know something about my music career. That I have great musicians playing my music, that I've been fortunate to be able to write somewhat decent music and have some fame because of it. That I write somewhat nostalgic music for the most part, music that looks back, say standards, tunes from the 40s, classical compositions that harken back to the 19th century for the most part. But then I'm not alone. So much of music that's written and played today harkens back to earlier times. Linda Ronstadt singing tunes from the 40s, Tony Bennett, Lady Gaga. Our film composers writing music that's very similar to what composers were writing 100 years ago. John Williams, Nina Rota, Morricone, Michel Legrand. For example, the tune, What Are You Doing the Rest of Your Life? Andrea Bocelli and Celine Dion and their collaborations. That's what I think music is going to do in the future. It's going to harken back to the past. What are you going to do after hip-hop, rap, atonality, chant music, people just hammering at the keyboard without any rules or logic? Is that the future? No, the future is playing the music somewhat of the past. Bach, Beethoven, Frank Sinatra, Miles Davis, the Beatles, Gloria Estefan, Whitney Houston, gospel, even Bartok, and writing music which harkens back to everything. That's what my music tries to do, actually, I think quite successfully. My earliest claim to fame was performing the first movement of Grieg's Piano Concerto with the Stockton Symphony in 1959. At the time, I was taking piano from Ed Shadbolt at the University of Pacific in Stockton. He was a noted pianist himself and had studied with Bela Bartok in Hungary, piano with Bela Bartok in Hungary, among other things. I went to the University of Pacific in Stockton and the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, and graduated from Eastman in 1963 with a major in piano and composition. In 1964, I joined the United States Marine Band in Washington, D.C., the so-called President's Own. I played at the White House 2 or 3 times a week from 1964 to 1968 under the administration of President Johnson. I played piano with a jazz trio, and we alternated with a string group or a small orchestra as background music for receptions, state dinners, and even small dances at the White House. In 1968, I left the band and went to San Francisco, where I got a master's degree in piano from San Francisco State University as a student of Carlo Bossati. Also, while in San Francisco, I played a number of musical jobs as pianist with John Handy's quartet. John Handy is a world-famous saxophone player. I played a week gig with him at a jazz club in Vancouver, Canada, with sax, piano, bass, drums, and guitar. It was a quintet. In 1974, I went back in the Marine Band under the administration of President Ford. In 1977, I was forced to leave the band because of an injury to my right hand, which prevented me from playing well enough to continue in the band. The hand has, of course, improved since I got out of the band. I moved to Auburn, California. I married Michelle Conley, who was a music teacher in some Auburn elementary and middle schools. She also sang in the Sacramento Chorale, which did a tour in Europe while she was a member. I taught piano and also directed the choir at the Folsom Presbyterian Church on Blue Ravine Road from 1977 to 1989. I also played piano in Fred Morgan's big band and played jazz piano in various quartets for dances, jobs in the Auburn area. I often played with Mickey Bennett as bass player, who also owned Mickey's Boots in Auburn. In about 2000, I started giving yearly concerts of my piano music at the Auburn Library in the Beecher Room. In 2012, I had a chamber piano concerto for piano and string quintet performed at the Pioneer Methodist Church in Auburn with Chi-Sing Gao playing piano. Her husband, David Thorpe, played viola and also helped in copying my music. Chi-Sing and David Thorpe and various string ensembles have given concerts of my music every year since 2012. In 2021, the Nevada County Composers Cooperative, under the direction of Mark Vance, gave a virtual concert. It was not a live concert because of the restrictions brought on by the COVID pandemic. Lynn Shugren, a well-known pianist of Northern California, performed the piano part of my Chamber Piano Concerto No. 2. Some of the instrumentalists I have used in my concerts since 2012 should be noted. Among others is Irina Samarina, who graduated from the Moscow Conservatory and now teaches at American River College. She performed Sibelius Violin Concerto with the American River College Orchestra a few years ago, and this can be found on YouTube. Chi-Sing has a master's degree in piano from Sacramento State University and also attended the University of Pacific in Stockton. David Thorpe, the violist in the group, has a master's from Manhattan School of Music in New York and has been principal violist with the Auburn Symphony, among other things, for a number of years. Joe Mo-Chin, the cellist in some of my concerts, recently played a movement of Dvorak's Cello Concerto with the American River College Orchestra. Timur also played violin, and he is the son of Irina. Stephen Rice played bass in a couple of my concerts, and he played with the Sacramento Symphony bass for quite a while. Terry Brown, the vocalist on two of my concerts, had the lead in South Pacific with the Community Asian Theater Company of the Sierras, or CATS. The musical was performed in the Nevada Theater for a number of weeks a few years ago. Terry Brown also heads the Music in the Mountains concert organization, which is a major classical concert organization in Grass Valley, Nevada City. Ken Hardin, the director of In Concert Sierra, the other major classical music organization in Grass Valley, Nevada City, performed my jazz preludes at a concert of In Concert Sierra a number of years ago. Mark Vance, who heads the education department of In Concert Sierra, had some bagatelles for piano and cello performed on one of the Composers Cooperative concerts, in which one of my chamber piano concertos was performed by Lynn Shugren. To digress, while I was in the Marine Band, I got acquainted with Sammy Nestico, who arranged for and headed the big band or swing band, and is quite famous as an arranger for Count Basie. I have written a good deal of piano music, a number of chamber symphonies based on these sonatas. 3 of these chamber symphonies have been performed. I've written 4 chamber piano concertos, 2 of which have been performed twice. I have also written a number of arrangements of mainly American popular standards for strings, or strings and piano, or strings and piano and voice, in both jazz and classical styles. Many of these have been performed. Also, my sister, Karen Melander Magoon, was an opera star in Germany for about 20 years. She performed in Augsburg, Dortmund, and other cities in Germany. She performed the role of Marguerite in Gounod's Faust, the role of Rosina in Rossini's Barbara of Seville, and Gretel in Humperdinck's Hansel and Gretel, among other roles. On my last concert, Terry Brown sings 3 bossa nova tunes. 2 of the tunes are originals of mine, in which I wrote the music, and Nancy Binns Reed, my aunt, wrote the words. Although it is hard to believe, Nancy, my aunt, wrote the words and music of the famous popular song of the 1950s, Oh Happy Day. She taught this to some girls while she was a camp counselor, and one of these girls remembered it and taught it to Don Howard, who later recorded it as his own tune. It is very well received. It was very well received, and eventually picked up by Larry Hooper of Lawrence Welk fame.
Now on with the show. The first recording Larry Hooper ever made was a pretty big hit, and we thought you might like to hear it again.
The sun is shining, oh happy day. No more troubles and no skies of gray. Ever since you said
Nancy heard the song on the radio, sued Don Howard for stealing from her. She won the suit and was given joint claim to the song with Don Howard. You can check out the veracity of this story by typing Nancy Binns Reed, Oh Happy Day, on either YouTube or Google. I got to know Nancy, my aunt, while I was in Washington with the Marine Band. Her husband, Ogden Reed, worked in the Pentagon. On October 30th, just a short while ago, Lynn Shugren played my first piano chamber concerto at Trabuco Ranch in Grass Valley. Lynn is a well-known pianist in Northern California. She has also recorded all of Book 2 of Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier, and this can be found on 2 CDs. This concert was put on by the Composers Cooperative of Grass Valley, Nevada City, which is run by Mark Vance, who is head of the Music Education Department for In Concert Sierra. My concerts can be found on YouTube by typing Binns Melander Music. 2 of my concerts, or concerts in which my music is played, can also be found on In Concert Sierra YouTube channel. I am 81 and still alive and kicking. Thank you for listening to this quite lengthy bio.